Hello and welcome to the Crooked Letter Sports Podcast, the show about Mississippi sports and the folks who play them. I'm Tyler Cleveland, joined as always by my co-host and dad, Rick Cleveland. Dad, did you have a good weekend?
Pretty good, yeah. How about you?
Man, I couldn't complain. You know, the Saints won again for making their interim coach Rizzi 2-0. Got to watch a little bit of that and watched a good bit of college football. Of course, the Ole Miss Rebels were off, which we agreed last week was a good thing for them before this week's big game against Florida down in Gainesville, which we're going to talk about on the show today. I feel like we got to open the show with something that neither one of us likes to do, which is writing an obituary. The Mississippi college football program is shuttering after 117 years, and I know you have covered games there and stories mostly on the players and the people involved that made that program what it was over its more than a century of history. How were you feeling when you found out yesterday that they were shuttering the program?
It just came out of the blue to me. I mean, I thought they, when they went back, they previously had dropped down to Division III. Then they came back and said, we're committing to football and we're going to go back up to Division II. I know they haven't had much success on the field, but the fact that they were just quitting came out of the blue. There is a lot of history there, and you and I had a chance this morning to talk to a big part of that history, Fred McAfee, and boy, he told us he felt like he had lost a member of his family.
Yeah. Well, he also said he wouldn't have traded his college experience at MC playing football there for anything. And, I think there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of players over the years who played their college ball at MC who would probably say the same thing. Now, the university says this was a financial decision, that it's just too expensive to field a football program. They wanted to focus on fielding championship caliber teams in all the other 17 sports that the university offers. And I was confused because in most places, fielding 17 championship teams kind of requires you to have a good football program.
Yeah, I have no idea about the inner workings and how much it's costing and how big a drag it is on the overall budget. I just don't know. And they're a private university, so the information's not readily available. I will say that I kind of agree with Fred and other Mississippi College people that I've talked to, other former coaches, players that say, well, look, Delta State can do it. They're smaller than we are. Mississippi Valley can do it. They're smaller than we are.
Alcorn is smaller than they are.
Alcorn, well, it's touch and go on Jackson State. I mean, Mississippi College is a big private school.
That's Mississippi Christian University to you, buddy.
Well, it's not until next year.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting, they're doing this as part of their bicentennial, 200 years of Mississippi College.
Yeah, well,
since we're writing the obituary here, can you kind of fill us in on that history, the early years of Mississippi college football? I know it was throwing haymakers back in the 30s.
Well, they have a history where they were beating Ole Miss and beating Mississippi State. In 1916, they beat Ole Miss 74-6 in a game. The two greatest players in Mississippi college history, I think everybody would probably agree, would be Edwin Goat Hale, who played in the early 20th century. He was the one that led them to a 74-6 victory over Ole Miss. He also led the nation in scoring while he was at MC. That was at a time when MC played Alabama, LSU, Tulane, Ole Miss, Mississippi A&M, which became Mississippi State. They played all the Southern football powers and acquitted themselves well. And then the second greatest football player, or the greatest modern-day football player, would definitely be Fred McAfee, who led them to a national championship, made All-American, later made All-Pro in the NFL. one of the great guys too. You'd have to agree.
Yeah, and was never on full scholarship. We found out.
Yeah, that was the most interesting thing I found out today is that Fred McAfee, I'm sure the only Mississippi College player who ever went on to become an All-Pro, was never on a full scholarship at Mississippi College.
That's wild. So what happened in the intervening years? I mean, so they're, in the early part of the 20th century, they're, beating all these teams that are schools that would eventually go on to be, the SEC. These are the college football powerhouses. At what point did they kind of diverge?
I don't know if they were a candidate for inclusion in the SEC, what became the SEC or not. But as recent, well, it sounds you got on me earlier today when we were talking before.
Yeah,
you
said because you said as recently as 1931. I was like, that is not recent.
As recently as 1931.
That was 100 years ago.
Well, it was 93 years ago to be exact. But 93 years ago, they beat Mississippi State, and that was right at the time, in the same period of time where the SEC came into being. Mississippi State and Ole Miss went into the SEC. Mississippi College did not, and I would say that's when the divergence happened. While we're talking about it, MC also, they dominated Southern back in the day, way back then. I think they played 3 times and beat them soundly 3 times.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you think that this decision, and I know we just don't know because they're a private school. We cannot look at their numbers. Do you think that this is a canary in the coal mine for, let's say, Division II? Because I know Division II is stuck in this tough spot right now where Division III, there are no athletic scholarships. Right. Division II, there are athletic scholarships. Is this kind of, I guess you say everything rolls downhill. Is this NIL related? Is this pushing the cost of college football higher for Division II schools?
That's one of the things they cited in their decision.
Right.
So I have to assume that it is. I don't think it's the major fact. I think every Division II school, I don't think none of them make money.
Right.
None of them make money on football. It's going to be up to each individual school whether it's worth it to them. Is it important enough to our institution to fund football? Yeah. Mississippi College has made its decision. Delta State, I'm not in any way advocating they should make the same decision, but they have made the decision they're going to do it, apparently, And they're cutting programs other places. They're cutting academic programs, but they have not cut football, and they still play really good football too.
Yeah. Well, I think we've had this discussion, and I'm not sure on air, but there are, the 3 SWAC schools, the 2 SEC schools. There's Southern Miss, now in Mississippi College, Belhaven, Millsaps. There are a lot of football programs in Mississippi. And Mississippi is not a very big state.
There's also more junior college programs in Mississippi than anywhere.
Well, we're not cutting back on our JUCO programs. It's one of the best things we got going in this state. Yeah. But I will say that we've always had too many football playing schools. And I don't know if that factors into this at all. I would say there's probably a ton of MC alumni who go to Oxford on Saturdays. Or Starkville.
I know them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I get it. I just hate it for, folks who actually care about the MC football program, like Fred, who, said he had shed tears over this.
I hate it. I hate it for Fred. I hate it worse
for the players and coaches.
For the kids today, Because let's face it, Tyler, they really are playing for the love of the game.
Yeah.
There ain't nobody on that Mississippi College roster who's going to play in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, I was looking down the list, the roster this morning. A couple kids that we covered in high school, or I covered in high school. The Pedal quarterback, Jackson Allen, the Coleman kid from Oak Grove, caught, couple passes in the state championship win over Oxford in 2000. I mean, or in 2020, 2000, talking about recently, in 2020. So I just feel like it was serving a purpose, and I guess, I hate to see it go, but I think this is kind of maybe the reality of, the future of college football at these lower divisions.
And it's not just Division II. I mean, Division I AA, the group of 5 schools at the bowl championship level.
Yeah.
I mean, they got it. There's a decision you have to make. It's hard to make ends meet when you're not getting the millions and millions of dollars that the SEC gets from TV.
Yeah. Well, I would think the first to go would be the MAC, so we have to keep an eye on them. I mean, I want to say it was Kent State or somebody like that's 0-11, or it was Akron, I can't remember. But, they at least can make a ton of money going to Ohio State and getting browbeat 80-0. I mean, they can make a ton of money doing that will help fund. They're basically like the SWAC basketball teams of the, you know what I mean? They can fund their whole athletic program off getting beat by Ohio State and
they get $2 million
football.
To go play.
Or Michigan, you know what I mean? Anyway, I just wanted to keep an eye on that. But, RIP MC football, I don't guess this is something they can reverse at this point. I mean, all these kids are in the portal and
No, I think probably that ship has sailed.
Are they going to pull a UAB, come back 2 years from now?
Well, when we were talking to Fred, he brought that up.
Yeah.
I mean, that I just don't see it happening.
Right. Well, I want to look ahead to next weekend, but first we do need to talk about the Saints on Sunday and where they stand now. They got the center back, at least for most of the game. They had Taysom Hill as healthy. They were still without their wide receivers, but Derek Carr played great, and they took care of business against what appears to be a bad football team.
Yeah, but the center got hurt again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can't just have success. You know how this doesn't work that way.
Again, from our earlier conversation with Fred McAfee, and he is still, part of the front office of the Saints and on the field for every game. The greatest special teams player in the history of the Saints. And Fred told us that he doesn't think any team in NFL history has had the rash of injuries they've had this year, which you and I have talked about during this program several times during the season. I mean, quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, linebacker, cornerbacks. I mean, they've had injuries.
Multiple offensive linemen.
The center and both guards.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. If they all get healthy, they're only 2 games behind the Falcons.
So as we stand this morning, Saints are 4-7. I believe the Falcons are 6-5. Yeah, because the Broncos beat them on Sunday. So they are 2 games back with, 6 to play?
Yeah, I mean, it's doable.
It is, and the schedule certainly sets up nicely. I was looking at it. They play 2 teams with a winning record out of those 6. The Packers are 7-3. The Commanders are 7-4. The rest of those games, starting this week, the 500 Rams are 5-5. The Giants are 2-8. The Raiders, who they play right after Christmas, are 2-8. And then the final game of the season against the Buccaneers, who have lost 4 in a row, I think. So, they have time to right the ship before them, but you're looking at this and you're thinking, well, let's say they go 5-1 in those last 6. That would put you at 9-8, and I would think that would put you right in the hunt for the NFC South. But there is almost no margin for error going forward.
Yeah, the more likely scenario is that the Saints win
go 4-2.
4-2 and miss by a game and drop down to the middle of the draft, first round of the draft. That's the more likely scenario.
Trash. I don't want to hear that. But here's the deal: is my thing is all right, so they go all out. They play great down the stretch. They win one of those games against one of those 7-win teams, or one of those teams already got 7 wins. They make the playoffs. Then what?
If they're healthy, they can compete.
Well, then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're going to get into the playoffs and you're not going to be able to beat, these other teams that I don't even know who like I tell you every week, I only watch the Saints, so I don't even know who the other big teams are in the NFC. But I know there's two divisions that have at least three teams with better records than the Saints right now in the NFC. So if they're not going to be able to compete when they get there, I'm just not sure what I'm doing every Sunday trying to get them there.
Well, I mean, you got to try. You got to try to win. And they're again, I think if they're healthy, like they were for the first two games of this season, they're competitive with everybody except the really elite teams like Buffalo, Kansas City. Mm-hmm. I don't know who.
Baltimore.
I don't know who you'd say in the NFC.
I mean, you've got the Commanders and the Eagles and the Packers. Yeah,
well, at any rate, you got to keep trying, and they're trying, and they've got it seems like that Rizzi has brought a fresh air to the program, and
it did coincide with a bunch of people getting healthy.
Absolutely, it did. Yeah, but they are playing really hard and playing better.
They seem to be having fun too.
They do, and here's one thing I want to talk about just a second. Let's say the Saints make a turnaround in the next 2 or 3 years and get really good. Get in the postseason. There's a case to be made at some point that Taysom Hill could end up being in Canton, Hall of Famer. There ain't another player like him, and there hadn't been for a long, long time.
There is not. He is a little bit older. The only question there would be the longevity, I think. How long can he keep this up? Because they will not. I think he's. I know he's top 10 all time in franchise touchdown list. I don't know where he ends up on that list.
I'll just go on record as saying he's my favorite football player. Period.
Okay, I'm cool with that.
I mean, he does everything. I mean, he really does everything. He literally blocks, tackles, runs, passes, catches passes. I guess he could kick, but we don't get to see him do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're having this conversation about how great he is, because about halftime on Sunday, I was pretty angry at the guy for the 2 turnovers in the first half.
He kind of made up for it.
He did. He more than made up for it. And was on every highlight reel last night. Dad, moving on just a little bit, we want to look at this Ole Miss game this weekend.
Absolutely.
Because this is the no disrespect whatsoever to Mississippi State, because anything can happen in the Egg Bowl. But it now appears that Ole Miss is in the playoff unless they lose one of these last 2 games, and they will not play in the SEC championship. So you win at Gainesville on Saturday, you've put yourself in prime position. Now, Florida looked pretty damn good over the weekend. That quarterback, DJ Lagway, I got a chance to watch them.
Well, you all see him when he's healthy.
Yeah. Well, he looked pretty good Saturday. Making throws on the run that looked like NFL throws. So I don't know what to make of this Florida team, and then they're 5-5. I just don't know. I don't know what to make of them. But Ole Miss, I believe, is 10.5-point favorite on the road at Florida.
Yeah, and you and I disagree on. I would take Ole Miss and lay the points. I think they're that much better than Florida.
And they very well may be. That's anything in double digits on the road in the SEC is, especially for a team that appears to be playing better in Florida, beat LSU. I mean, I just think it's a tough out for the Rebels. I just think they got to. I think if they play well,
they got to go take care of business.
Yeah, if they play well, they should win.
The big news is they're going to get Harris back. Apparently,
if he's healthy, all bets are off. I would say this: I would almost rather have him. If they can make sure that he's going to be healthy for after the regular season, is when they really need him. When they get into some of these games against some of the very best teams in the country, because he is an incredible talent.
He's a pro.
Yeah,
he's a pro.
So is Jackson Dart, by the way.
Yeah, when you were saying that earlier about Lagway and how he can make throws on the run and everything, it sounded a whole lot like you were describing.
Yeah, and and don't get me wrong, like I really like Jackson Dart and think he's going to be a highly successful quarterback in the NFL. Lagway has a bit of athleticism that Dart, I mean, no, when and here's the deal is I wish that we could jump in a time machine and go back to that Ole Miss LSU game, because I think they probably would have approached it a little different. Apparently, the way you beat LSU is you turn the quarterback loose in the running game. They have struggled mightily against really mobile quarterbacks, and I know Jackson Dart can do that. I know you're trying to keep him healthy the whole season, but
I think Ole Miss could have just run the ball, period, in the second half and won the game.
Yeah, well, I completely agree. I had said so at the time. I just, I hope that they get through this 2-game stretch. Don't care how pretty it is. Would love for a Mississippi team to be in the initial college football.
I think it's going to happen.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. I think they're positioned right where they need to be. Not as good as it would be if they had
beaten
done
LSU.
What they should have done with Kentucky and LSU, but they're in position. What do you think of what Kiffin said about the SEC championship game?
I didn't hear what Kiffin said about the championship game, so this ought to be fun.
Said he would prefer not to play in it.
Well, hell yeah. I'll say this. And
then the SEC needs to rethink the whole thing.
Okay, I agree with Kiffin at this point. You'd rather not play in it and get into the playoff with your 12-game body of work. But I would say, and this is just me talking, that winning the SEC championship, for me, if I was Ole Miss, would be almost as important. I'm serious. I mean, they don't have, you know what I mean? Because even if they, let's say the most magic thing ever happens and they get into the playoff and they win the whole shebang.
Which they could do.
It could happen. They still won't have that SEC championship. You know what I mean? I mean, and forever the Georgia and Alabama people and everybody, they'd be, say, hey, we got that national championship, and they say, but you never won the league.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, if you're a team that, I can't see any scenario in which a team would be playing for an SEC championship and not be in the playoff discussion.
Well, there's certainly a scenario where you could play in the SEC championship game
and lose your way out of the playoff.
And lose your way. You could have been one of the 12 that would have been in, and then you get trounced and lose a star player in the SEC championship game, and you're out.
It sounds like you're endorsing what Lane Kiffin said.
Let me say this. I can see where he's coming from.
Well, I more than see where he's coming from. You don't want to play Georgia again.
No.
Or Alabama, who's not on the schedule for once. You know what I mean? So I totally get that. No, I do say that. I do think winning an SEC championship is nothing to be, nothing to sneeze at.
Well, Ole Miss does have several SEC championships. They were just all before there was a championship game.
Right, and before integration.
Yeah.
Well, then to me it doesn't exist. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, nothing before integration matters to me. This is not, I don't think it's real.
I know where you're coming from.
But yeah, so how do you feel about that game? What else can you tell us about? You've covered games at Gainesville. What's it like to play there when they got it going? And
I've seen Ole Miss win there when they had it going.
Yeah.
Cutcliffe won huge games there. But it's a tough place to play.
No.
One memory I'll take to my grave is when I was down there and Steve Sloan I was covering one of Sloan's last teams at Ole Miss, and they got beat 49-0. And at the end of the game, the Florida co-eds were flashing the Ole Miss players. And at one point, the Ole Miss coaches were looking for a player, and he was over there looking at the Florida co-eds. I'll never forget that as long as I live.
That's hilarious. Yeah. I remember the most memorable Florida Ole Miss game that I remember was at, I think it was in Oxford, though. It was the game they won. God, it must have been it was a low-scoring game, I remember, but I remember them carrying Eddie Strong off the field.
Yeah.
They beat Florida, and I want to say that was Rex Grossman. I could be getting my years mixed up. But, yeah, I felt like Florida for the longest time when I was growing up was the bully on the block.
Well, they were. And I well remember when Ole Miss went and beat Tim Tebow down there. And Tebow tearfully told everybody they weren't going to lose another game, and they went on and won the national championship.
Yeah, well, that's because they didn't have to play Jevin Sneed and the Fighting Rebels again. I don't know, man. I just feel like this is their last big test, and I know I've already said what I said about the Egg Bowl. Ole Miss will be favored by 20 in that game. So I feel like this is their last big test, and it's also a huge game for Florida and Coach Billy Napier.
Yeah, at one time, I was already calling this the Billy Napier Bowl because I thought it would be for him to keep his job.
It may still be. I don't know.
Well, it could be, but they say it's not.
Yeah.
And Kiffin says he's staying at Ole Miss no matter what.
Yeah. Well,
he's going to have to turn down a
king's ransom,
a bunch of money.
But Ole Miss has money now. I mean,
Yeah, you can look at the field and tell it.
Yeah, absolutely. Money well spent, I'd say. I think, like we've said before in this space, I think that Ole Miss has hit the jackpot with having the right guy at the right time. I feel like the Texas and Alabama and Georgia and everybody, I mean, they have all got their robust NIL programs, but they will catch up with how, the way he jumped on it and the way that the Grove Collective and all that came together right at the beginning of the process. They have hit this sweet spot.
And absolutely. And plus Kiffin had the NFL experience.
Right.
I mean, it's you're part of your job as a head coach now is general manager in college football because you got to decide who you're going.
Yeah.
You got to decide how to spend that NIL money.
Mm-hmm.
And he has performed masterfully.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think obviously he would be the top candidate for any coaching job, I would think, right now. But if he stays at Ole Miss, I just feel like they're going to be competitive year in, year out for however long. I mean, I don't know. I had my doubts. I don't mind telling you when he first got there, I thought, this could go one of two ways. Well,
he tried to get several jobs when he first got the first couple of 3 years he was there.
Yeah, but apparently he's saying don't tell me you're going to take you out of Oxford in a pine box. I've heard that shtick before. We're through with that. But I just feel like they're going to be competitive as long as he's there, and it's really good for the university and for the state. Dad, any other news? I saw the Ole Miss Rebels are up to 17 in basketball, I think. Beat Jackson State the other night. Our buddy Mo went up there, and Ole Miss took care of them 76-44. Do you think they're that good?
I think they're really good. I still think Mississippi State may be better.
I don't see any reason not to think that.
State is really, really good. Ole Miss is really good. They're both exceptionally coached. They're both really well coached and talented. It's going to be a fun basketball season.
Well, you say that Taysom Hill is your favorite football player. I think my favorite basketball player is Josh Hubbard.
Well, he's really special. He's fun to watch.
He's fun to watch. Of course, they knocked off Utah 78-73 the other night. Mississippi State's 4-0 and unranked. So I don't know.
I don't know why they're unranked.
Yeah. Utah was, that's early in the year. Utah was 3-0 before that game.
Utah's been good.
And they had some, they didn't have any, I think Utah played, they hadn't played anybody. That's the reason. They had played Alcorn, Central Arkansas, and Queens, which is a college that everyone has heard of and knows about.
Yeah, but Utah will be before the season's over, they'll win 20 and be in the tournament probably.
Yeah, I would think so. And Mississippi State will as well. I think we've got a good basketball season coming up in terms of SEC teams. The Southern Miss not going to be bad either.
No, Jay's got a nice team. The thing I'm waiting for is somebody emerge as the leading candidate to be the football coach down in Hattiesburg.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about it, but I didn't know if you knew anything and didn't want you to divulge any information that you had.
Well, I don't. The name, I'm hearing some names, one in particular, which makes a lot of sense is Buster Faulkner, the offensive coordinator at Georgia Tech, who's been at Southern Miss in the past and has a pretty good track record. He's making more money than Will Hall was making at Southern.
As Georgia Tech's
at
offensive
Georgia Tech.
coordinator.
But, you know, a lot of these guys want to be a head coach.
Yeah. Would he bring the Ramblin' Rex patented offense to Hattiesburg?
You know, that's changed.
Yeah, they don't do it anymore.
They don't do that anymore.
I don't watch Georgia Tech. I can't say. I do know that they had a pretty good year.
They've had a nice season, and they still, you know, they play Georgia. They could get them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a huge bounce back win for Georgia.
Yeah.
At Neyland.
No,
that was between the hedges.
That was between the hedges.
Well, I was surprised. I thought Tennessee was going to win that game, but essentially they're out.
Yeah, they're out.
It's a wild season. I'll tell you this, and this is underlying everything we're talking about right now. This college football playoff is awesome. The games matter.
Yeah.
The games matter. The games,
championship games don't matter anymore.
No, but the regular season matters.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be, and not the regular season didn't matter before. I mean, there was just no margin for error. But now you can have 2 losses, and you know, as long as they're not bad losses or to the right teams, you still got something to play for.
You can, as Ole Miss has, lose 2 games you should have won and still be in it.
Play your way again.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to the most this weekend? I'm guessing that Florida Ole Miss game, and what else?
That's the game I'm going to watch, and we got a Sunday free from the Saints, so maybe we'll hit the golf ball.
Maybe so. This rain will hold off, and it looks like the fall weather is finally going to arrive for us, which I've been, tell you what, I've really enjoyed this fall, quote unquote, so far.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, that's about all the time we got this week. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Y'all have a safe week out there, and we'll talk to you on the other side.